Hey guys, it's Matt again, and I'm doing this replay analysis for this player here, Gundy from Ozdots, and he posted this game a while ago as well, asking for advice on this game, on playing PL. He does end up winning this game, but he was still looking for advice on how he could do better. I've watched this replay, and I've also watched another one just recently from a friend of mine who plays a lot of PL. He's a little bit higher MMR than me and plays core more often, plays one position, whereas I'm normally play mid. So I ran a few things by him just to get his opinion. So I'll let you know some of the advice from him as well. So first of all, watching his game, he last picked PL and you first picked. One of the things that might be the reasons there is because he has the high MMR stamp under his name now with the new thing, so he can sort of have the luxury of clicking the safe lane and people will leave it for him, but you might not have that luxury. But I think generally you've pretty quickly picked this PL, so you might have been able to leave it, and part of the response to that is that they go and pick an axe pretty soon afterwards. Straight afterwards in fact, and Sven both have area stuns and call and spin, which can sort of quickly find out which one the real one is. The Lich is not ideal if you're trying to target and because you get slowed, but realistically, like, none of these heroes are a huge problem for you, but it's just beneficial to try to hold your pick a little bit on PL and on a lot of heroes, I guess. But talking to my mate, he was saying it's not, Axe isn't actually a particularly huge problem for PL, and I don't think he is either, but he's definitely not one you'd rather not be up against him. He's better than some of the other cores in the game at the moment. Like Troll, for example. I think PL is a pretty good core to play against Troll at the moment, which is on a lot of games. Alright, so the starting items in his game, he went starting. I asked him about that, and the difference between start and Ring of Prot isn't huge, but it's significant. But he likes it in, especially in solo games, because often your supports will, if they don't know what they're doing, will pull, do single pulls or pull when you're going to get pushed under tower. And last hitting under tower, you take a lot of extra damage if you don't have a stout, so it helps the benefit. Also, you didn't go for the rune, which you can at least have a look for. The other big thing is their cores were Sniper, Axe, and Sven. And there's an Axe Dazzle. Anytime you see an Axe Dazzle, you have to be a little bit afraid of this. If the Lich come up here as well, this Sven, I guess, would have had a harder time bottom, but anytime just with Axe Dazzle, he can do stuff like this. He can backlane you, and because you only have two heroes, you don't have a ranged hero to harass him with, and even if you do, it can still be difficult. He can do this. He can just sit here and backlane you, and you can't really do much about it. The ES is just going to get zoned by the Dazzle. And you're trying to last it under tower here. So again, you've tanked half your HP on this first wave of creeps, which a Stout would have really helped with this game too. So if you saw the Axe Dazzle, Stout would have been a good start, and even without it, my mate still recommends it. And you get that last hit without taking the first hit on it. Generally, when you're at this attack damage, it's about 65 to 67. If you're over that, then you don't have to hit it before the tower does. But if you're under that, so say you had 62 damage, then you're meant to hit it once, let the tower hit it 5 times, and then hit it again. But it's always slightly random variation, so the tower must have rolled some slightly high procs on its attacks in those 5, so you managed to get the last hit. But that's just something to be aware of. Last hitting under tower, you just need to practice last hitting under tower. Maybe look up on Reddit the guides on it, or just go into and practice last hitting under tower, because it's often a thing you'll have to do. Also here, when the creep, you gotta recognize when it's going to change to range creep. So here, this is attacking, and it's closer to the tower, so it's going to aggro here. But if you positioned yourself just on this side of the melee creep and you weren't sure, you'd still have the ability to turn and hit that once before the second hit, so you could get it. So yeah, just last thing under tower isn't a PL specific thing, but it's just a gameplay specific thing, and this is just a poor decision here. You've got 8 tangos, and you run in, like you didn't pop enough of them while you were under tower, but you also ran on half HP into an axe. I know he doesn't have any creeps, but you don't lance him for one. Like if you just lanced him here, and then went like just to lower him, or even go the Dazzle, who has 470 health rather than 670, that would be a good start. And you can just work his regen down. Just lance him and go back to the lane and start last hitting. But you just waltz up without lancing, get called, and then die, which is huge. That just buffs him up an extra level. You know, Dazzle's level 3 now. You're level 1 still. It's like you weren't that behind in the lane until that point. You were just going to have to burn through a lot of regen. Let me just check my recording's working. Sorry. Yep, we are good. Cool. So they just continue to last hit. So this is all just mechanics and lane. Being good at last hitting. You pop your illusions here, which isn't a terrible idea because it's only 50 mana just to try to cause to take a bit less damage, but you still tank the creeps. There you go. You try to move back, yeah. But if you're gonna do that, I'd maybe suggest trying to do it out here, so you're not even more confusing your last hit damage by the illusions punching on them. Yeah, you kind of do that here a little bit, but you're doing alright. Actually, let's put the CS up. But yeah, the start of this lane is reasonably boring. Besides that death, it's just you last hitting on the tower. Axe manages to Fury out a courier the entire way up there, which if you had wards... where's your other ward? You've got one in lane. Who knows? Oh, it's here. Okay. You could have been able to pick that up and get a free courier kill. But that's not your fault. Sven's going a bit ham bottom. Alright, so here we go, something else happens. So you're pretty low on HP. You lance him, which is fine, just try to get some damage. Now here, your skill build is weird too. I wouldn't go early points in Doppel here. I'll be maxing Spirit Lance. So the Spirit Lance is your best scaling skill out of all the skills that PL has. If you look at how it works, it goes... The move slow goes 10, 20, 30, 40, and the illusion duration, which is how long the illusion's alive, punching him, goes 2, 4, 6, 8. So that's really good scaling skill, and the damage obviously scales as well. And the mana cost only goes up by 15 from level 1 to level 4. Whereas your other skills, all that changes here is the cooldown duration, which is important, but it's not important when you're laning so much. And then Phantom Rush just decreases the cooldown and the rush distance, which again isn't crucial. So your biggest one in this lane for sure is Spirit Lance. So at 3, generally you should have 2 in Spirit Lance, 1 in Phantom Rush, or maybe Doppel if you need it. And then at level 4 you should be 2, 1, 1. But I think this game you max Doppel early. So there's lances that would have just been an extra, 100 damage that the X would have taken beyond 280. Also, when you're here, I guess you kind of get forced into going the axe a little bit, but you really should be going the Dazzle because he's got, 2 armor rather than 6, and has 500 HP rather than 800. So he's a much easier kill, and if you can force him to pop Grave on himself, that's really good. And just you're all melee heroes, which makes it difficult. Like the Axe is probably going to call you, but I think it's an easier target to go for the Dazzle than the Axe here. Although the Axe is an important kill and you do get it here, so that's good. But you would have taken a lot less damage and done it a lot quicker if you had a 20% move slow and 150 damage. And then you have to go back to base here to heal. The other thing is you go in early treads here, which again, like item builds are somewhat preference based, but getting Vlad's early is huge on this hero. Like I think it is, and others might disagree. But the way that my my friend and I play it, is getting early vids helps you farm the jungle, helps you give you mana regen, gives you early base armor. It's just a really good all-round item for. How do I get rid of that? A really good all-round item for PL. You get lifesteal on your illusions. Yeah, armor, mana regen, and HP regen. You can get the pieces of it. It's slow to build up, so you can get a ring of regen and you can get a Sobi mask in your lane, or even a Bassi. Like especially with your build, you win an early ring of prot, so you can get a Bassi in the side lane really early on to get the 6 extra damage and armor and more mana regen, so you can spam your Spirit Lancers a little bit more, and it also helps out your ES, or if you have other supports in lane that need regen to cast spammable spells, then an early Bassi is useful. Whereas all the treads really does for you here is give you that little bit more movement speed, but you have charge anyway, and you have a huge slow as well, and it gives you stat points, so you'll be able to last it a little bit easier with if you're on Agi, and you'll be a little bit tankier on treads, but a quelling can make up for the attack damage, and some early points and stats can make up for the treads. Talk about the stats in a minute. A lot of people are going stats early-ish on PL after you max Lance. Also, I didn't cover it, but you went bottom here, which I don't really agree with. You already had a hero down here farming, a core, I think it was the Bristle, but or the Tiny. Whereas they'd already taken top tower, which I think just got kind of abandoned. You could have potentially helped save that top tower there, and at least farmed here once the axe kind of leaves the lane. Let's come back, but you can get better farm up here, being contested by an axe, or even retreating into the jungle, than you can, I think, competing with another core who could be getting solo experience and farm in this offlane here against a lich. Or best you can anyway. You're definitely not helping win this lane. You're just contesting farm with a Tiny, and then I think pretty soon here you and the Tiny die. Which you blame him for in chat, I'm pretty sure, but it's not. If you're a bit honest with yourself, I don't think it's completely his fault. You run in here into melee range of the Sven, get blasted by a lich who, oh god, and then just tank a Sven stun. I know you're saying he grouped you and stuff, but you still die here, even if you're alone, even if the Tiny isn't there. The lich, being the genius that he is, used his ultimate on a creep, which I find pretty fun. So if you watch here, he casts it on the melee creep, which then bounces, and then gets to you guys. But yeah, if he just Nova ulted you and the Sven stunned you, you die, even without the Tiny there, so I think blaming him is a little bit unfair. Or maybe you're expecting him to stun or something, I don't know, but you definitely don't get a kill there. You're too underleveled and underfarmed. So you died twice before 10 minutes, which is something you hugely want to avoid on PL. You don't want to be fighting in the first 5-6 minutes. You want to be farming. The hero can come online in the mid to late game once you've got some early items up. And going back to offlane here, I don't agree with. You should be up here taking this priority safe lane farm, which you're now letting an ES farm, which I guess is good. But he could be free from that lane to go ward, go help mid, or even sit and get XP, pull and stack camps. Instead, you've gone bot to a dangerous lane with no vision. You've got no ward up around in this area of the map, so you're forced to just go sit here as soon as the axe turns up, which is silly, by the way. Maybe you're trying to soak XP, but it ends up nearly getting you killed. I think you get out here, but I would have just backed off, and you probably shouldn't have been in the lane in the first place. You get out here and he chases you for a while, but you go back and heal, so it's just a huge amount of wasted time for about 2 or 3 CS. Also, when you're in Fountain, if you switch to Agi treads, you heal faster. But, and remember, you can TP out. I do this as well, but you can TP out while you're still regening, because you got to remember that you get Fountain regen after you TP and in the time while you're TPing. So it's just all being efficient. They're pushing top here, so you could have got a lot of jungle farm in this time. Look how fast you farm jungle camps. I've given took a few took down a few comparisons of times for farm, just so you can get an idea of like where you could be if you played the lane out properly, or even semi-well with regards to last hitting and not dying. My friend's game, this was a solo game he played as well, obviously a higher MMR, but he was against a lone druid in a duo lane. I think he got a gank early on and didn't get the kill. So at 10 minutes where you are now, he only had 43 CS, you've got 26, but he missed a lot in his lane in the early stages against a lone druid who was getting harassed off on him, and just he got a double wave of range creeps in the early phase. So like he had things going against him, basically, is what I'm saying, for last hitting, and he didn't last hit well. So 10 minutes 43 is pretty low, but 26 is even worse. But even with a 43 CS, the highest in the game was only 60, and this is in sort of 4.5, K average games, and he had a Vlad's. He was 0-2, so he had 2 assists, no deaths, no kills, and he had his Vlad's at 10 minutes, along with Brown Boots, Uv. He went Uv early, because Uv is a potential pickup you can grab from side lane to get an early kill. It's actually really strong. I didn't realize this until I saw him do it, but I kind of knew, but didn't really think to go it. But the move slow is reasonably good on Spirit Lance, and you can charge. So if you get a Lance into charge into Uv slow, if you've got anyone else with you, that's almost a guaranteed kill on most solo offlaners, except for things like Tide and that probably, but or Bristle. But just keep it in mind, it's a situational pickup, it's not something you should go every game, but if you can pick it up and get a kill on it for 275 gold from the side shop, that's well worth the investment. So yeah, 10 minutes, he had Vlad's, and you've got treads. And 400 gold. The Vlad's makes this significantly quicker, you can farm jungle a lot quicker, and also you should pick up a quelling here, even probably before you farmed your Vlad's, if you're starting to get to the point where you're farming jungle like this. But if you have, once you have Vlad's Aquila, you can jungle all day constantly without an issue. Also here, one thing you're doing, you're using your jump in to like tank the creeps, which is okay, but then you're not actually letting them tank the creeps. So if you watch, they're all aggroed on you, and you're not backing up and A-clicking one of the creeps, sorry, one of your illusions to let them tank the damage, which you should be doing. The whole point of using illusions to farm on PL, even if you don't use Doppelganger to do it, you can just run and hit a couple of times, make an illusion, back up, get the aggro on the illusions, and then keep fighting yourself. So you're actually healing while you're fighting, which obviously works better with like Tranquils or a Vlad's. Sometimes I've had to resort to going Tranks on a PL if I get stuck in the off lane or something, but sorry, Tranks won't work if you're attacking, but you get my point. You don't want to be tanking the creeps if you have illusions that could be doing it for you. That was unfortunate vision. I thought you would have been able to see him there, but I watched in your perspective when I watched this replay earlier, and you couldn't. He blink called you, and that was just bad luck. But it's a little bit of awareness, because you see... Do you see the axe in the lane? He's got an invis ring, so no, it's not your fault. Do you see this guy come across? You see a Dazzle run in before you get called. So you see Dazzle leave the lane here running into jungle, so you got to be a little bit suspicious that something's going on. And then I'll see if on your player perspective you picked up on that. So you see the Dazzle in lane, but your screen's just on your hero. As well, if you're just there last hitting creeps in the jungle, you're not going to miss the last hits, because it's only you punching it. You can be looking around on the map, clicking other heroes, seeing what's going on, checking other lanes, moving to the next one. You can be... People in low MMR games, and even myself, and people better than me, don't click enemy heroes enough. You can get a lot of information by doing it. Just free info, seeing that like Tiny doesn't have a boots, that's probably useful information to have, that Sniper's low without any regen and he's working into a Shadow Blade, like you might need to pick up Dust or something, like just, he's building a mech, he's already got Blink but doesn't have anything else, he's got a ward on Dazzle, he's got one gone, so he's probably placed one somewhere. If you knew that earlier, you could maybe predict where he's put it, or if you see that he has one now and then it disappears, you know that there's a ward top somewhere. Just clicking heroes is all free information, and if you can do it while you're jungling, then that's all the better. So they're all pushing into your jungle here, you're still farming, which is okay. They're pushing, no, they're not pushing. They're fighting your bristle. I'd probably be moving to help them out now rather than farming your jungle camp. I think you engage in a big fight here soon. So this game's a little bit hard to free from your jungle because of the mistakes that were made early by letting them get ahead by backlaning your lane very well with 2 heroes. Generally you should have, should need 3 to do that. Or if they are doing it successfully, you can ask for rotations from your other lanes. So you could ask someone to come and assist. There's not really a good hero to do that this game. Your offlane was tiny bristle, but if you had a support with your a core in the offlane, you could ask them to come help. But yeah, because of the mistakes in the early game, your farm has been shut down a little bit in the jungle here. But there's still plenty of space. Now they've left, they've gone mid. I wouldn't go mid here, I would be heading straight to this lane to farm your farming jungle, which is fine as well. But you got to remember that the jungle CS kind of disappears. You kind of lose it because at 1 minute this will respawn, but this definitely disappears and you get more value out of farming and pushing up these creep waves, as well as it forces people to rotate. If you did it a bit earlier, the axe would have still been mid. You can push that lane out and then go back to farming your jungle. Here as well, you see the axe rotate through mid, or like he runs right past your ear, so your team should have been calling it out for 1, but also if you're just paying attention to the map, because you're in a pub game, in a solo ranked game, and you can't rely on your teammates to do everything, you need to be keeping an eye on things like that on your map, and seeing that the axe left mid into your jungle, so you know that he's in this area somewhere, so he might just be farming stacks here, but there's also a good chance he's heading for you top, because you're on the map and he knows you're an easy kill when he's got blink call at this point of the game and you're low HP. My next marker for farm's at 20 minutes. So that's 4 deaths, a couple of which could definitely be avoided. That one could have been avoided. Your 1 bot could have been avoided just by not going there. Your top one could have been avoided by map awareness, watching the axe leaving the lane, and then your 1 here potentially could have been avoided by seeing that the dazzle was leaving. So if you're farming jungle, not last hitting, pay attention to the map. So all of these things aren't really like you not playing well. That was one of the first things my friend said when he helped watch this game with me for a little bit, is that all the things he'd seen you, well not all of them, some of the skill build and stuff and the item builds, but a lot of the things he had seen you do wrong early in the game aren't specific to PL. So it's just a general farming mechanics that you can improve on here rather than specifically how to play PL better. Here, you do this a bit. That was one of the things that I was going to mention to you, is you use Doppel to initiate. See here, your range on Lance, you can take 2 steps forward here and just Lance that dazzle. You don't even have to take a step forward, you're like right about to hit him with the range of your Lance, but you jump forward and then Lance. And now you don't have Doppel up anymore. I know it's only a 10-second cooldown because you've maxed it, but here you could use it to dodge the axe call. Like he should have called you there and he didn't. I think he might have been... Is he stuck? Did he cold snap him? I don't know. He should have called you there, and you could have dodged it with your Doppel. But yeah, I don't know. I guess he's just outthinking you. And he dunks when you're way too high. But you get what I mean? You don't want to jump in, especially with an axe. You don't want to jump in with your Doppel, make a bunch of illusions that at this stage of the game don't do any damage, and then give him free targets to call and get extra count, like spin procs off. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, and a bristle, and this one charging in 2. That's like 6 things for him to get spin procs off, especially if he gets call off. Free damage. Look how low you get from that. If he dunked a little bit later, you were still died because the sniper came in here unannounced with his little sneaky plays. But yeah, don't use Doppel to initiate. And I ran it by my mate, and he was saying it serves no purpose until you get Diffusal Blade. Once you have Diffusal, getting the extra burn from all the illusions serves some purpose, and generally by then as well you have extra points in Doppel, like you already have at the moment, but your Doppel cooldown is shorter, so you might be able to use it again to dodge stuff. But as a general principle, you want to like Lance charge or charge Lance, and then use Doppel to dodge things. So if you Doppel in and you get Sven stunned, or if you Doppel in and then you get axe called, then you're just a stupid hero with no illusions that doesn't really do anything, who's low on HP, and they know who you are, and you're going to die. So don't blow your only escape maneuver. Here I would have just lanced the Sven. I don't know. Oh, you do jump forward again. Like, you still got regen from tower. Like, you can totally lance that hero. I probably wouldn't overcommit on him because he's got a Mom and Stormhammer and ulti, but it's a free lance. I don't know, free damage. I guess going bot there was good to help defend the tower, but you don't need to do it at the same time as the Tiny. Either you or him needs to go. The other person should be top, which I think is his fault for TPing after you. But so now I don't know what happens here. You seem to just die for about a minute while they do lots of good stuff middle. But yeah, this is kind of an important thing not to do in a game. Just disappear for a while. Anyway, it's now close to 20 minutes and you still don't have your Vlads, which if you know played even with minimal farm in the safe lane against a not perfect lane, my mate had in 10 minutes. And yeah, you've got 55 CS now, whereas he had in a poorly laned lane, well not terribly, but he had 43 CS in 10 minutes. So just that's how much you have to work on with regards to just mechanical skills and last hitting. Here, you don't need 3 heroes farming mid. I guess you're going for a mid tower, but you're so far behind, and they only have 1 hero dead, that I would be, yeah, they're 12k hit. I would be taking this farm. It's areas of the map where you're losing farm. They're going to push mid, they can put some pressure on it, but they shouldn't be overcommitting to it because they're actually respawning in 7 and they can come up and fight you. You definitely shouldn't be behind the tower here because they can blink call you. You're lucky to dodge it, but you should just be using this time to get the farm here rather than competing for mid farm with a couple of other heroes where you're probably not going to get the tower because the axe is going to be up soon enough to TP for you. Get a kill here. No? Yeah, you get a dazzle, but then you die. So it's just more unnecessary deaths when you're behind and you desperately need to catch up on farm. You're trying to, yeah, again, blaming other heroes, blaming other people on your team. Well, I assume that's what that means, when really that was a decision that you made that was poor. And now they are farming your jungle when this should have all been farmed by you. So that's a huge gold swing. You know, that's whatever, like 800 gold or something from those camps, plus now he's got it, so it's minus that again. Or doubled. What's the time? I don't have too much longer before I have to go. So 20-minute mark. My mate's game, he had 112 CS. He'd surpassed the highest farmer in the game, who was at the time when he was 43. The guy was at 60. That guy who was at 60 got up to 90, and my friend went from 43 to 112. So that's the benefit of basically what he did in that time, from 10 to 20 minutes, is he got his Vlads and he just did this. He just pushed around and around here. So he pushes the wave out, someone turns up, he throws a lance at them, fights them if he can. If he can't, backs off, farms all of this, comes, or even just up to here, pushes the wave out again, farms back around there, pushes the wave out. If you can farm all that, cool. If the wave looks scary, or if you don't want to go to lane, then do that. If you don't want to go to lane, then farm these extra camps. But otherwise, push the lane out, get the T1. If no one comes to your lane, if you just keep doing this, eventually someone's not going to come to defend, and you'll get a free T1. Even in high level games, you'll get people that sometimes they'll be busy at a mid fight, or they'll be bot, or they don't want to TP, or they're too scared to fight a PL or something. You'll get a free tower, and that's a big advantage in gold. And it's safe, right? You're staying in your jungle, you're roaming around, you're not engaging in big team fights. Have a TP so that you can go to fights if they overcommit bot or mid or something. You can go and help out, or if they come your jungle and you have to fight, sure. But you shouldn't be looking for early fights like you have been, and going bot and pushing down here and stuff. So yeah, he farmed around here. The wave got pushed in bottom with no one there. It pushed out to his tower, so he TP'd bot T1. Pushed this out, down to the T1. It got a bit scary, he didn't have vision, so he backed up. You can farm Ancients at that point with your Vlads, but he didn't. The top lane was free again, so he just TP'd back top, went around to doing this again. And then by 20 minutes, he had 112 CS, he was 1-0-4, so he only had 4 assists and 1 kill, but he hadn't died, which is the big thing. So it's not like he was snowballing hugely off a million kills, but he had Vlad's, he had brown boots still, because he likes to build brown boots into Travs, which is reasonably common. Some people will build treads, and I don't think that's particularly wrong. Hey, so Sorry about that. I got a Skype call and it muted my mic, so I continued talking for another couple of minutes after it was muted. So we'll get back into it. I have had a bit of a break since I did that first slot. I had to go play sport, but I was talking about how you went treads instead of travs, and basically that decision is potentially a little bit of personal preference. Like if you're not as confident in split pushing and farming quickly and getting to the point where you're going to be able to, if you're not able to split push safely and farm those items and play for the late game, and you're going to be forced into team fights potentially if they're trying to 5-man a lot, then maybe treads is better. But if you're happy to split push other lanes and make them come defend, going for a Manta into Travs is probably good. Also, you've got to base Manta decisions on whether they have silence. You can just sit it at Yasha for a while if they don't have silence heroes and you don't need the Manta. If you don't need to use the Manta illusion split to get yourself out of silence or out of various other things in the game that it breaks you out of. So there's a little bit of item selection there based on the game specifically, but generally Manta's a very good pickup on PR. Now I was finishing talking about what he had at 20 minutes. He had Diffusal. He had 112 CS at 20 minutes. He had Diffusal, and he just about had his Yasha. He was about 450 gold off Yasha. And then at 25 minutes, he had 163 CS, so it's another 50 in 5 minutes. And the highest after him in the game was that Storm that was at 90 at 20, and then he was only at 106 at 25 minutes. So he got well out farmed in that mid game, which is a fairly common thing to happen in games. People will go for all these mid game fights and sort of forget to farm. And if it goes poorly for them and they die, then they just, they get no progression in items for 5 minutes, and it really hurts them. At 25 minutes he had his Manta, so he had Manta Vlads and Diffusal, and still Brown Boots. And then he worked into his Travs after that, and then into Skadi. The whole time still having Quelling Blade. Still don't have a Quelling Blade at 26 minutes. I called it Aquila earlier on when I rewatched this, but not Aquila. You want Quelling Blade. It's so huge for farm, heroes that are going to farm jungle a lot. This is a really good fight, but in your player perspective, your camera is down here the whole time, which I got kind of confused by. So you're just punching the guys down here, and you have no idea what's going on in the fight afterwards, and it takes you a bit of time to transition into going up there. I'm not sure why that sniper comes out of Invis to try to shoot you and get himself killed there, but we'll take free kills if we can get him. So luckily, thanks to comeback mechanics, these guys playing a bit stupid, you guys are going to start coming back into this game a bit here. See, they're still all ahead of you on net worth, but not by huge amounts. I guess the last two cores here are, in this 8-core game, have got a bit more. You're the lead farmer on your team still, which just shows you how little people in this MMR farm, or how inefficiently they farm. And here you're going to make the same mistake that you make in the mid T1 push. So you want to fight, and you think, sweet, we want to fight, let's push a tower. Yeah, we did it, let's go. That's the natural reaction, right? Every time you win a team fight is to push a tower. But it doesn't have to be. It has to be to get something done. You have to do something with the time after you win a fight. So that can be Roshan, that can be pushing a tower, that can be pushing a Rax, that can also just be farming and getting wards up and taking map control, dewarding. It just has to be, you have to take the most of it. But you walked into this T2 with an ES bot, a Tiny in the base, and an Invoker in the base. There was just you and Bristle versus 4 heroes, and the sniper was about to respawn. And they engaged you, and you just lost 2 of your cores for nothing. In that time, you could have farmed these 4 camps and then gone bottom, pushed that out a little bit, probably only to here, because they'd be respawning and it'd be unsafe at that point, and then you could back up and farm agents or something. And that's a whole bunch of gold that you're taking not only for yourself, but you're also taking away from them, because when they respawn and go to their jungle to farm, it's dead. So it's a big gold swing from not only winning a team fight, but then stealing their farm. And now it seems like they're probably going to make the same mistake that you did and go, oh yeah, we won, and they'll go push down the mid, and you've got an ES and an Invoker, who he's not Crosswork, so I forgot. They're walking into a scary high ground defense team. That's a pretty interesting situation, but it still kills this Sven. So they do alright here. You're all kind of going in one by one. You're still dead, but you'll come in here afterwards. And you manage to defend high ground, and they don't get any farm done. They lose a couple of important core heroes, and it's just stupid. Like, Roche is up. They should have Roshed. You should have Roshed when you won the fight. Or like I said, or found some camps. You died to some unlucky bounces, I think, here from. Unlucky or not, I'm not sure. We'll watch, but. Yeah, that's kind of tricky, but not really also. If you see that it's following you like that, you can run away from your illusions if you split them up. There's various controls for that. You can use control click your illusions, including your hero down, and then right click your hero the other way, or some people have like an auto select for all their illusions on something, or there's even a bind you can have to select all summoned units. There's lots of ways you can sort out in your bindings to move your illusions separate from your hero. So they're going to try push here, but not get anywhere. They've already lost their sniper and their Sven, and they're silly to try to push here, and you get another kill on an axe, which is just huge. And this is what I saw a point made on Reddit today, where people were talking about comeback mechanics and whinging about it, but really it's going high ground when you shouldn't is more the problem than the comeback mechanics. Comeback mechanics are just kind of make it worse, but you can easily avoid them just by not. Well, easily avoid this part of it anyway, by just not choosing silly times to try to push T2s or to go high ground when you're ahead. Do it when you can, do it when your whole team's there, do it when their team isn't about to just respawn, do it when you're ahead in the game, so even if they do come you can still fight and beat them, but you just have to be smart about it. And you also have to look, it's your responsibility in these ranked games, also in ranked solo games especially, to not, you go into axe here, you always have to remember there's an axe in the game that you can get quick call if you try to go on a support. Works out alright though, but you have to look and see where your team is. Like when you push that T2 mid, you might have thought your whole team was with you, but you know there was an ES bot and 2 other cores were in the base. Like you can't just die and then blame them for not being there. If they're not there and you still go in and take that tower without them there, even though they might have been in the wrong not to come, it's still a lack of awareness by you to not realise they're not there. So, and you can blame them all you want, but you're not going to win any more games by blaming them. You have to play with what you've got. And, ES is doing some stuff. He goes Ags, which is pretty interesting. Big wombo ultis. Anyway, let's power through this. I think this is just seems to be a back and forward of going down the throat and forgetting how to farm past 25 minutes. So at 30 minutes he had, I don't know, I haven't done too many of these, but you tell me, I don't know what's useful to you guys, but I hear a lot of people asking about what sort of farm they should be aiming for at what times in the game, so that's why I took these timers down, these, farm targets down for you guys. But if they're not useful, tell me, or if they're not interesting and just waste time, tell me. But I hear that question, or see that question around a lot from newer players asking what they should be aiming for in farm. And I figure this is kind of a direct comparison from hero to hero in similar games. So at 30 minutes he had 223 CS, and the highest in the game was after him was 135. He had Travs, plus he had, on top of his other items, he had Travs and 2600 gold. He was 4, 0 and 6, and then at 33 minutes he had a Scouty because they had taken a mid-rax, so he found the rest of his Scouty and had Travs. And you get rid of your TP quelling. How many slots are we at? I don't know. Keep your quelling as long as you can. I'm pretty sure you can actually still have those 4 items, Travs and quelling blade as your set. Oh, and then you build into whatever's required after that. Butterfly, Abyssal, BKB, Heart. Then obviously there's some games where you'll need to go different items. You might need to go BKB earlier in specific games instead of a something, instead of Manta. But Vlad's and Diffusal are generally pretty core, and Skadi's just insanely good on the hero. And yeah, I don't know. Like, trash talking is one thing, and it's a bit of fun, but you just have to be careful about talking down to about your team in all chat early in the game. Especially when there's stuff, there's always stuff that you could be doing better. And I'm guilty of it too. Everybody is, I think, a little bit, except for all those saints among us. But at the end of the day, it makes you feel a little bit better calling somebody else out, but it doesn't help the situation of your team trying to win the game. Good usage of Diffusal to slow. Remember, you can use Diffusal to purge stuff off yourself as well. So useful use of Diffusal, but when you have your Manta, you can try to use Manta instead of Diffusal, so you're not wasting Diffusal charges for getting rid of silence and stuff. So they've got 3 dead here for 20 seconds, so you can potentially get something done. These guys are coming mid, they're on the way. I don't know if you're yelling at them or not. Axe is up for 10. You don't have to be worried about the Lich. You have to think about heroes that you're worried about. You're worried about Sven getting a Stormhammer on you, but he doesn't have Blink, so you should be able to dodge that. But you've just blown your W, so I wouldn't have done that. I would have just lanced a range creep or lanced them or something. Maybe used Manta if you wanted to, since they don't really have a straight silence. But using your W when Sven still has a stun up is just silly. Because if he goes you there and stuns you, what are you going to do? You're just going to run backwards and get walloped by it, and then start getting cleaved up. I thought this was a weird fight because you jump up on the cliff. I don't know if that was on purpose. And you have an obs up here. Sorry, they have an obs, so they have vision and you don't. But they sort of overcommit into this one grouped up space versus an ES, which is and an Invoker, which is asking to die. This is a really good ulti by the ES, but this works out really well for you. Ag's paying off big, and that's pretty much game. Before that happened, I was thinking you guys probably should have just backed off there, because you didn't have vision, but shows how much I know, right? And that's pretty much game. You didn't farm as well as you should have, but they did some silly stuff, and your team's quite hard to go high ground against. And you have a lot of, or a couple of heroes that can initiate and get on top of the sniper, who also didn't play very well, and didn't make shrapnel, which is my pet peeve, because people around this MMR tend to pick heroes that they don't know the strengths of, and they don't know why the heroes are broken, and he's broken because of shrapnel, and because of Mom, and he has neither of those items. You want to max shrapnel first. But yeah, that's GG. Let me know if this was helpful. I might do some more. I'll do them while people are enjoying them and learning from them. If you have any advice or tips, then let me know. If you want them shorter, if you want me to cut stuff out, that's useful for me as well. But I think often Dota's a long game, and long form content might be useful as well. So, alright, cheers.